If you reach the end of 2026 and realize you lived it on autopilot, scrolling, avoiding responsibility, waiting for motivation, you will feel a regret far heavier than failure. This is your warning. Do not waste your life. Time is not neutral. It's either shaping you or eroding you. 2026 is not just another year. It's a test of who you're willing to become. Every day will quietly ask whether you choose meaning or comfort, discipline or distraction, responsibility or excuses. This message is not here to flatter you. It's here to wake you up before another year disappears without a trace. The fastest way to waste your life is to make comfort your highest value. Comfort feels harmless at first. It presents itself as rest, safety, and ease. It promises relief from stress and a temporary escape from pressure. But when comfort becomes the guiding principle of your decisions, it quietly reshapes your character. It trains you to avoid difficulty, to delay responsibility, and to prioritize short-term relief over long-term meaning. Over time, this trait hollow outs your potential. Comfort satiates ambition because ambition requires friction. To aim at something worthwhile, you must tolerate uncertainty, effort, and the possibility of failure. Comfort offers an alternative narrative. Stay where you are, minimize risk, and protect yourself from discomfort. This narrative is persuasive because it reduces anxiety in the moment. But what it really does is narrow your future. Each choice for comfort over challenge makes the next challenge feel heavier until even small demands feel overwhelming. When comfort dominates, conscience grows quiet. You know what you should be doing, but that knowledge becomes easy to ignore. The inner voice that once pushed you toward growth softens into a suggestion you can postpone. Comfort whispers, not today. You're tired. You deserve a break. And sometimes that is true. Rest has its place. But when that whisper becomes constant, it turns into avoidance. Avoidance is not rest. It is a slow erosion of self-respect. Tomorrow becomes the most dangerous word in your vocabulary. Tomorrow promises opportunity without cost. It allows you to believe that delay is harmless, that time is abundant, that you will somehow become ready without effort. But tomorrow is where dreams go to die because tomorrow rarely arrives as imagined. When tomorrow becomes today, the same excuses resurface, reinforced by habit. What you practice becomes who you are. A meaningful life, by contrast, is demanding. It does not ask for perfection, but it does ask for effort. Meaning requires you to confront what is difficult rather than flee from it. It asks you to voluntarily shoulder responsibility, not because it is pleasant, but because it is necessary. Responsibility organizes your life. It gives structure to time, direction to effort, and coherence to identity. Voluntary responsibility is different from obligation imposed by circumstance. When responsibility is forced upon you, it often feels burdensome and unfair. When you choose it, it becomes purposeful. You are no longer merely reacting to life, you are participating in it. This participation transforms it into meaning. The weight you carry becomes evidence of your commitment rather than proof of your misfortune. Doing what is difficult because it matters is the foundation of character. Character is not built in moments of ease. It is built when you act according to your values despite discomfort. Each time you choose discipline over indulgence, truth over convenience, and effort over avoidance, you reinforce an identity aligned with strength. Over time, these choices accumulate into a stable sense of self-respect. Comfort dissolves character because it removes the need for choice. When everything is easy, there is no pressure to decide what matters. You drift. Drifting feels pleasant in the short term, but it leaves you directionless. Without direction, even abundance feels empty. Meaning feels by giving your actions purpose beyond immediate gratification. In 2026, the temptation to escape into comfort will be everywhere. Distraction is cheap, constant, and socially acceptable. You can lose hours without noticing, days without intention, and years without progress. This is not a moral failure, it is a structural trap. But recognizing the trap is not enough. You must actively choose against it. Choosing the hard path does not mean seeking suffering for its own sake. It means selecting challenges that develop competence and integrity. The hard path is that asks more of you now so that you become more capable later. It is the path of deliberate practice, honest self-examination, and consistent effort. It is uncomfortable precisely because it stretches you beyond what is familiar. The easy path, by contrast, dissolves you. It requires less effort today, but demands more from you tomorrow when your capacity is reduced. Each avoided challenge makes the next challenge more intimidating. This compounding effect is why comfort is so dangerous. It weakens your ability to respond when life inevitably becomes difficult. Life does not remain comfortable indefinitely. Hardship arrives whether you are prepared or not. The question is whether you will meet it with resilience or fragility. Choosing meaning over comfort prepares you. It builds psychological strength, emotional regulation, and practical competence. These qualities cannot be rushed into existence. They must be cultivated through sustained effort. When you choose the hard path, you also gain clarity. Difficulty forces prioritization. You must decide what is worth your energy and what is not. This clarity simplifies life. You stop chasing everything and commit to something. Commitment reduces anxiety because it narrows choice. Paradoxically, limitation increases freedom by focusing your efforts. Meaning also stabilizes motivation. Comfort-based motivation is fragile. It depends on mood and circumstance. Meaning-based motivation endures because it is anchored in values. Even when enthusiasm fades, commitment remains. You continue not because it feels good, but because it aligns with who you are trying to become. There will be days when choosing meaning feels exhausting. On those days, comfort will appear especially seductive. It will offer immediate relief. But relief without progress quickly turns into stagnation. Stagnation breeds resentment, both toward yourself and toward others. This resentment is a signal that you are betraying your own potential. Choosing meaning requires honesty. You must acknowledge where you are avoiding effort and why. Often avoidance masks fear, fear of failure, judgment, or inadequacy. Facing that fear is part of the work. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of it. Each courageous act weakens fear's influence. Over time, the hard path becomes less hard, not because it becomes easy, but because you become stronger. What once required immense effort becomes routine. This is how growth feels. Challenges remain, but your capacity expands. Comfort never offers this expansion. It keeps you static. In 2026, choose deliberately. Ask yourself each day whether your choices are oriented toward meaning or comfort. This is not about constant intensity or relentless productivity. It is about direction. Are you moving towards something matters, or are you merely avoiding discomfort? Character is built in these daily decisions. It is not a grand transformation, but a series of small, disciplined choices. Each choice for meaning over comfort reinforces the trajectory of your life. Over a year, that trajectory becomes visible. Over a lifetime, it becomes destiny. Do not let comfort steal your future quietly. Rest when rest is needed, but do not hide there. Use comfort as recovery, not as refuge. Let meaning guide your effort. Shoulder responsibility voluntarily. Do what is difficult because it matters. In doing so, you will not merely pass through 2026, you will grow through it stronger, steadier, and more aligned with who you are capable of becoming. No one is coming to rescue you. That statement can feel harsh, even unsettling, but is also deeply liberated. Many people move through life with an unspoken hope that something external will intervene, society will become fairer, circumstances will improve, motivation will suddenly appear, or someone else will recognize their potential and pull them forward. This hope delays action. It encourages waiting rather than building. Radical responsibility begins the moment you abandon the fantasy of rescue and accept that the direction of your life is ultimately in your hands. Responsibility is what turns chaos into structure. Chaos feels overwhelming because it lacks order and direction. When you do not take responsibility, life appears as something that happens to you rather than something you participate in. Events feel random, setbacks feel personal, and effort feels futile. Responsibility reorganizes that experience. It gives you a role to play. It asks, what can I do with what I have right now? That question narrows focus and restores clarity. Taking ownership of your habits is a powerful starting point. Habits shape your days, and your days shape your life. When habits are left unattended, they form around convenience and impulse. These habits may feel harmless, but they quietly determine how you spend your time and energy. Radical responsibility requires you to examine these patterns honestly. You ask whether your habits are aligned with the direction you want your life to move. This examination is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Time is another domain where responsibility reveals its power. Time is finite and indifferent. It does not care about intention or potential. When you take responsibility for your time, you stop treating it as something to fill and start treating it as something to invest. You become deliberate about where your attention goes. This deliberateness reduces waste because it aligns action with values. Failures are often the most difficult area to claim responsibility. The instinct is to explain them away, to attribute them to external forces. Sometimes those explanations are accurate. Circumstances do matter. But radical responsibility does not deny context. It transcends it. It asks what can be learned and what can be done differently. This shift transforms failure from a verdict into feedback. When you take responsibility for failure, you reclaim agency. Agency is the sense that your actions matter. Without agency, effort feels pointless. With agency, even small actions feel meaningful because they contribute to a larger trajectory. Agency fuels motivation more reliably than inspiration ever could. Motivation fluctuates. Responsibility endures. Victimhood is seductive because it offers moral relief. If you are a victim of circumstance, then you are absolved of responsibility for change. But this relief is short-lived. It comes at the cost of power. Remaining in victimhood keeps you reactive, dependent on conditions you cannot control. Radical responsibility breaks this cycle. It acknowledges hardship without surrendering initiative. Becoming an active force in your own life requires courage. It means accepting that your choices have consequences. It means facing the discomfort of knowing that some of your suffering is the result of your own actions or inactions. This awareness can be painful, but it is also empowering. What you take responsibility for, you can influence. Direction emerges from responsibility. Without responsibility, life drifts. With responsibility, life aims. Direction does not require certainty. You do not need a perfect plan. You need a compass, values that guide decisions even when outcomes are unclear. Responsibility aligns daily actions with those values. Waste disappears when you decide your life is yours to build, because waste thrives in ambiguity. When you are unsure who is responsible, effort dissipates. When responsibility is clear, effort concentrates. You stop expending energy on blame, comparison, and complaint. That energy becomes available for creation. Radical responsibility also reshapes how you respond to adversity. Instead of asking why something happened, you ask what it demands of you. This question reframes adversity as a challenge rather than an insult. Challenges invite growth. Insults invite resentment. Responsibility chooses growth. Taking responsibility does not mean shouldering everything alone. It means owning your choices, including the choice to seek help when appropriate. Dependence and responsibility are not opposites. Dependency without responsibility is weakness. Interdependence grounded in responsibility is strength. As you practice responsibility, confidence grows. This confidence is not arrogance. It is the quiet assurance that you can respond effectively to difficulty. It is built through repeated evidence that your actions matter. Each responsible decision reinforces this belief. Responsibility also fosters integrity. Integrity is alignment between belief and action. When you take responsibility, you close the gap between what you say matters and how you live. This alignment reduces inner conflict. Reduced conflict increases psychological stability. Direction becomes clearer over time. Early efforts may feel scattered or insufficient. That is normal. Responsibility is a skill developed through practice. With persistence, patterns emerge. You begin to see which actions move you forward and which do not. This feedback refines judgment. Radical responsibility also changes how you view others. When you hold yourself accountable, you become less resentful of others' flaws. You recognize that everyone is navigating limitations. This recognition fosters empathy without excusing poor behavior. The discipline responsibility extends beyond personal success. It influences how you contribute to your community. Responsible individuals are reliable. They follow through. They create environments of trust. These environments support collective growth. Choosing responsibility is not a single decision, but a continuous commitment. Each day presents opportunities to either claim or evade it. The cumulative effect of these choices shapes your life's direction. Over time, responsibility becomes habitual. What once felt heavy becomes natural. Life will never be free of uncertainty or hardship. Radical responsibility does not eliminate these realities. It equips you to face them. It turns passive endurance into active engagement. It transforms chaos into structure through deliberate action. When you fully accept that your life is yours to build, something fundamental shifts. You stop waiting. You stop hoping for rescue. You start constructing meaning. Waste fades because every day becomes an opportunity to move, however slightly, in a chosen direction. This is the power of radical responsibility. It does not promise ease or certainty. It promises agency. And agency, sustained over time, is what allows a person to shape a life that is purposeful, resilient, and deeply their own. You are not defined by your past, but you are shaped by what you aim at. The past explains where you are, but it does not determine where you must go. Too many people confuse explanation with destiny. They look backward, catalog their mistakes, their missed opportunities, their failures, and quietly conclude that the future must resemble the past. That conclusion is understandable, but it is false. Direction matters more than origin. What you aim at organizes your behavior, your attention, and ultimately your character. Aiming low feels safe. It reduces the risk of disappointment. If you expect little from yourself, failure hurts less. But aiming low comes with a hidden cost. When your aim is small, life shrinks to fit it. Your world becomes narrow. Possibilities diminish. Energy fades. You may avoid spectacular failure, but you also forfeit meaningful success. Over time, this trade breeds regret rather than peace. Aiming high is often misunderstood as arrogance or unrealistic optimism. In reality, aiming high, truthfully and responsibly, is an act of humility. It acknowledges that you are not yet what you could be. It admits that growth is necessary. A responsible high aim is not a fantasy. It is a commitment to develop the skills, habits, and character-required approach that ideal. When you aim high, life organizes itself around that aim. Attention becomes selective. You begin to notice opportunities aligned with your direction and disregard distractions that pull you away from it. Choices become clearer. The question shifts from, what do I feel like doing, to, does this move me closer to who I want to become? That shift simplifies decision making and reduces inner conflict. Orientation is more important than position. You do not need to know exactly how to reach your ideal. You need to face it. Orientation determines trajectory. Even small steps in the right direction accumulate. Over time, they create distance between who you were and who you are becoming. This gradual transformation is sustainable because it is grounded in consistent effort rather than sudden change. Aiming at who you could be also reframes failure. When you have a clear aim, setbacks become information rather than verdicts. They tell you what needs adjustment, not what you are worth. This perspective reduces fear of failure and increases willingness to experiment and learn. Growth requires error, and aim provides context for those errors. Your aim must be honest. Dishonest aims, those based on status, comparison, or external validation, lead to fragmentation. They pull you away from your values and create internal tension. An honest aim aligns with what you find meaningful. Even if it is demanding, it resonates of your sense of responsibility rather than your desire for approval. Responsibility is inseparable from high aims. The higher the aim, the greater the responsibility required to pursue it. This responsibility disciplines ambition. It ensures that your striving is constructive rather than reckless. Responsible ambition considers consequences, respects limits, and builds capacity over time. Aiming at the strongest version of yourself does not mean becoming invulnerable or flawless. Strength includes resilience, honesty, and the capacity to endure difficulty without losing integrity. It is the ability to confront truth even when it is uncomfortable and to act accordingly. Honesty is a cornerstone of meaningful striving. Without honesty, high aims become illusions. You must be willing to see yourself accurately, your strengths, your weaknesses, your tendencies toward avoidance or self-sabotage. This accuracy allows you to set realistic sub-goals that support long-term development. When you act as if your life matters, your behavior changes. You treat your time with respect. You invest effort in relationships that are reciprocal and meaningful. You care for your body and mind because they are instruments through which your aim is pursued. These actions reinforce the belief that your life has value, creating a positive feedback loop. Aiming high also impacts how you relate to others. When you are oriented toward growth, you are less threatened by others' success. You see it as evidence of what is possible rather than as a comparison that diminishes you. This mindset fosters collaboration rather than competition driven by insecurity. In 2026, the world will offer countless distractions designed to capture attention without providing meaning. Without a clear aim, it is easy to drift into these distractions. Drift feels comfortable but leads nowhere. An aim provides resistance to drift. It anchors attention and effort. The process of aiming high requires patience. Results are rarely immediate. Early stages often involve discomfort and uncertainty. This is where many people retreat to familiar patterns. Persistence differentiates those who grow from those who stagnate. Persistence is sustained by belief in the value of the aim. Your aim will evolve as you do. Growth reveals new possibilities and refines understanding. This evolution is healthy. It indicates responsiveness to reality rather than rigid attachment to an outdated image. Flexibility within commitment is a sign of maturity. Aiming at who you could be also means integrating your past rather than denying it. Past experiences, including failures, become resources when viewed through the lens of growth. They inform your understanding and guide future choices. The past becomes a teacher rather than a jailer. When you align your daily actions with a meaningful aim, motivation becomes less volatile. You no longer depend on fleeting enthusiasm. Commitment carries you through periods of doubt. Over time, discipline generates momentum. Momentum makes effort easier. Life organizes itself around your aim because your aim shapes perception. You see what is relevant. You anticipate obstacles and prepare for them. You adjust strategies when necessary. This organization reduces chaos and increases effectiveness. Acting as if your life matters is not a declaration, it is a practice. It shows up in how you speak, how you work, and how you treat others. It is reflected in consistency rather than intensity. Small, repeated actions aligned with your aim build credibility with yourself. In the end, aiming at who you could be is an act of responsibility to yourself and to the world. Your development increases your capacity to contribute. A stronger, more honest individual adds stability to their environment. This contribution extends beyond personal satisfaction. Do not aim low to protect yourself from disappointment. Aim high to give your life direction. Orient yourself toward growth, truth, and responsibility. In doing so, you allow your life to expand rather than shrink. Act as if your life matters because it does, and because what you aim at determines who you become. Do not waste 2026 waiting to feel ready. Act first. Meaning follows action. Choose responsibility, choose truth, choose growth, and make this the year you stop drifting and start becoming.